Hi, everyone. It's great to have you on our live stream today. My name is Ksenia Schneeves, and I'm the Kotlin Marketing Manager for Education and University Relations. And today's live stream is mostly a tour of our Kotlin Basics track on the JetBrains Academy platform. And we're lucky to have Dmitry Sitnikov today with us in his very early morning. Welcome, Dmitry.
Hey everyone.
Dmitry is a JetBrains Academy expert, technical writer, and software engineer, and he's also created Kotlin-related content for the JetBrains Academy platform. He's currently working on the core teams topic for the Kotlin Basics track. And so he's the best person to walk us through it. And it's a great chance for you to ask your questions about the platform and the tracks and the way to learn and teach Kotlin. Some of the topics Dmitry is going to cover today are the Kotlin Basics track, which is free. So there is no barrier to enroll, and I'll send the link to this track into the chat. And you can also find it in the description to this video. Dmitry will do some live coding to show what the projects on the track are, and yeah, so please check out the track. And the track is free and has been reviewed by the Kotlin team. We'll also talk about other Kotlin-related tracks on the platform, which are Kotlin for Backend. It's still work in progress. We'll have a first glance at the Android track that's also in the works on the platform, and some other tracks of the platform too. For educators, Dmitry will talk about how to integrate these tracks, courses, and resources into your curriculum, and how to also use our JetBrains educational tools and products, which are, by the way, also free for educators and students. The live stream will have a Q&A session at the end, so you'll be able to ask your questions there and discuss these topics with Dmitry and myself. So as we go, please post your questions and comments into the YouTube chat. By the way, apart from Dmitry and me, we have Ilnur in the chat now, who is the technical support engineer for the educational products. So if you have some other questions, the technical ones, please feel free to send them into the chat. And just a couple of things before I give the floor to Dmitry. The live stream is recorded and will be available to watch later. To rewatch it, to send it to your friends and colleagues. It's a part of the educational live streams playlist that we have on this channel. And please also check them out after this webinar. There is a lot of useful information from other educators. As I've already mentioned, there are three of us on this live stream, and we're really looking forward to your questions and to hearing from you. So please share this in the chat. And to kick things off, may I ask you to share some information about yourself. Where are you coming from? How familiar are you with Kotlin? Are you a beginner? Are you an advanced user? Or maybe you already teach Kotlin to others? Please let us know. Okay, thanks. Now over to you, Dmitry.
Let's go. Hi everyone again. My name is Dmitry, or Dima. I'm a software engineer, like Ksenia said. So I've been working with Android, Java first, then Kotlin since 2011. And as part of my team lead work, I quickly developed a habit of writing short articles when I see the same discussion multiple times, so I don't have to explain myself over and over again. Yes, engineers are famously lazy, but not too lazy. And the very next day, literally the very next day after Google made it an official language for Android development, I started migrating my project to Kotlin. But contrary to my expectations, sometimes even experienced Java engineers would sometimes struggle with writing idiomatic or even correct Kotlin code. Yes, the language is beautiful. It's nice, clean, concise. It has pre-syntax sugar. But probably because of that extra sugar, because of that brevity, some of the concepts, they require some unpacking maybe. So that prompted me to write even more articles because there were not that many resources back in the days. Things are changing now. Some universities even offer Kotlin courses, which is pretty cool right now. But I would have to tell you that JetBrains Academy is slightly different. And today I'm going to cover why and how is it different. Also, like Ksenia said, we will dive deeper a little bit into the Kotlin courses in particular. I'll tell you how we teach students, what we teach, and also I'll tell about the cool tools that we have for that because, well, it's a JetBrains, right? So let's take a look at the structure of the popular online course that you may find on Coursera. By the way, pretty good one. This is how most of the courses online look like. This is the linear structure. You will have a group of articles that you have to read. They usually grouped in blocks. After each block, or sometimes after article, you will find some practice tasks to apply your knowledge. And that's pretty much it. The structure is pretty easy to understand. It is linear, and that's where JetBrains Academy is quite different. What we have on the platform is actually a graph. So each topic here, each piece of information here has the relationship with all other pieces of information. And we have a huge, huge graph that covers pretty much everything that we have. It's even language agnostic. So some things are specific to Kotlin, some are not, some of the basic or fundamentals of the software engineering. And what we see on the screen right now, it's not even 10%. It's a small, small piece of that graph. And you may tell me, well, that doesn't look right. And yes, it's overcomplicated. So that's not what students see on the platform. That's what authors see. That's how we structure the knowledge there. How we show it to the students is a simplified version of it. That's the real screenshot from the platform. We have a tree-like structure that has a grouping for all the larger, I would say, areas of the knowledge. And that still allows you to navigate through the graph and see what we can offer, what each track on the platform has to offer to you. But it is not the most important part of the JetBrains Academy. In addition to that graph of the knowledge, we have projects, and the projects are different things. They are not the same as the task for each small piece of knowledge that you have. They are not simply reinforcement things. They're completely independent. And even the first thing that you see on the platform, that's actually going to be the project. So JetBrains Academy is kind of flipping this relationship upside down. It starts with a project. It gives you the project first. So if the student selects a track, for example, Kotlin Basics, she would see this list you see on the screen right now first. She would see a couple of projects, for example, this one called Simple Chatty Bot. If she selects that project, she would then see the study plan. So the study plan on the right, it looks more linear. It looks more similar to the first slide from Coursera I showed you before. But don't fool yourself. This is just the path on the graph. This is the thing that we automatically generate for you. So if you look at the stages in this project, each stage has some practice to work on. First one, for example, require your input-output. So the system will look at the graph of the knowledge, will find the dependency and figure out that there is a topic about input and output. So it offers you that first. For the next stage, for example, you may need to use collections. Again, system will figure out there is a topic about the collection, which this stage depends on. Then it will offer that, but it will also figure out that, for example, that student doesn't know the basic data types yet, and the collections do depend on the basic data types. So in this linearized study plan, you will see the basic data types first, and only after that you will learn how to work with collections. So that's how the system utilizes that complex graph, and that's how we pretty much dynamically build this study plan for you, depending on which projects you're working on right now. But the graph I told you about, it's not completely hidden. So even though we linearize the structure, and even though we offer you an easy way to navigate through it and get your project done, we still have this tree structure I showed you before. It is available. It's called the map, and you can see the map of your knowledge. And if you are brave enough, you can dive deeper. You can find what each large piece consists of. And even there, you can dive deeper again and then see every single topic that is inside. Most likely you don't see the animation here, but visit the website. You'll see how that looks like, and I'll briefly show you that later today. What I will offer to you is a lot of additional information. So for each topic, you will be actually see what it depends on, what other topics depend on that. Also, if you ever learned that before, or if you ever applied that before in practice in one of your projects. So some of the topics, some of the theory topics are more complex than others. So most likely you would like to practice that once, twice, or more than the basic stuff. And the system actually shows you how many times you applied each particular small piece of knowledge in your practice task. So that's a really handy thing. Another handy feature there is it will show you which topics are right now the part of your study plan. So depending on which project you are selecting right now, what are you working on, you will also see which theory topics are part of this project. So it will be easier for you to navigate and kind of gives you a nice heads up of what's next and what's going to be this study plan for you tomorrow, not just today. Now, when you know how all the things work, I'm going to briefly cover what we actually have in terms of the knowledge. So the first track that is related to Kotlin, by the way, we have all other different languages, but our main topic today is Kotlin. So it's called Kotlin Basics. It covers fundamental things. Again, the fundamental things are language agnostic. You will learn about data types or input-output in general, about the comment in your code and things like that. And it also has Kotlin-specific things like data structures, control flow, functions, expressions, loops, things like that. It has just enough of the object-oriented programming to do the basic things with that. There is no complex, there are no complex concepts there, only basic things. Also, we cover some additional instruments that you may find useful no matter what level of experience you're targeting at the moment. You still need to use debugger, you still need some standard libraries, and we have that. But also, we cover such thing as Kotlin style, for example. So at the end of the course, you will be able not simply write the application that somehow works, but also write the application that looks like a proper idiomatic Kotlin app. So contrary to what name says, the basics is not just basics. You will be able to write a program at the end of this course. And yes, naming is hard in engineering. It's also hard in teaching engineering. The next track that we have on the platform is called Kotlin Developer. It's one step above. And like was mentioned today, it's in progress right now. But what we have there, in addition to Kotlin Basics, we have more algorithms. We have information about Java Virtual Machine, how the garbage collection works, how do you assemble your code, how do you package that into jars. It will touch upon the concurrency and parallelism, and this is one of the areas that are actively being developed right now. In addition to the basic JVM stuff, we're working on coroutines here. We cover more tools, so it's a more practical course. It's literally for developers and what developers use in real life, command line, Git, build tools, are going to be covered in this course. We also have more libraries in there. And unlike the previous course that JetBrains offers at an unbeatable price of $0, which should be roughly equal to 0 in your local currency if you do floating point conversion, this track is unfortunately paid. And if you do understand the joke, this is the track for you. If you don't understand the joke, you'd probably better start with Kotlin Basics. In addition to that, we have Android track. It is also in progress, and I believe right now it's even called slightly differently to tell you that on the platform. So you'll see a lot of beta icons next to it and a different name to tell you that the course is in progress. Once it's finalized, it will be called Android Application Developer. It also builds on top of Kotlin Basics, but it deviates into different sides. So it covers, of course, Android core components. It will tell you how to build the user interface, how to store your data in the different formats, how to transfer your data via network, how to provide navigation for the users, and more. What you may have probably noticed is that these two last tracks are built on top of Kotlin Basics. What that means from the student point of view is that you have some knowledge that is shared between the courses. And it is actually being shared. It's not repeated, it's not duplicated, because again, we have this single graph. This part of Kotlin Basics are naturally embedded into the larger courses. The great thing about it is that you don't lose your progress. If you are not comfortable with Kotlin just yet, if you start with basics and you learn everything, you complete the course, and then you step up to Android development, for example, you will figure out that your progress is not being lost. It is actually, I know, right now you'd be close to like half of the track going to be complete, because for each single topic that we have on the platform, the system will store your progress. It will know that you have already completed that topic and all the practice related to that. So it will be tracked, and you will find yourself at a better place, not starting from scratch over again, which is pretty nice. And if you complete the course, JetBrains offer you the certificates. Once again, this is unfortunately a paid feature. You have to pay for the subscription, even if you want the certificate for one of the free tracks. To get the certificate, you need to complete the track. It means 95% of the theory learned and at least one graduate project accomplished. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about what are the graduate projects. This is a special concept on our platform. When you join the track, like I told you, you will see a lot of projects to select from. It's going to be easy, medium ones. But among the hard ones, you will find some project with a special icon. That means it's a graduate. And in this case, the name is pretty self-explanatory. So the graduate project is the project that makes you graduate from the track. So that's that easy. In other words, that means it actually just covers all the theory of the track. So that's pretty much the definition. So if you're brave enough, if you think that you already know enough, you just need to practice more, you can start right away with the graduate project. For most of the students, of course, that's not the best way to learn. So that's why we still offer easy and medium stuff, so you can practice more before you begin with the hard things. And another interesting thing is that, again, how do we build this list of the projects here? It's also automated, and it's also using the same graph I told you before. So imagine we have a huge list of the projects. We do not know which one is which, but we know the dependencies in the graph. We also have the subgraph of the particular track, for example, Kotlin Basics. So if the project overlap at least 90% in terms of the theory it covers, then we'll offer that for you. So that's it. From the student point of view, that means that by doing such automatically recommended project, you can learn something extra that was not initially part of the track, but you can also be confident that it will never be more than 10%. For example, we have a project called Version Control System. It is available for both Kotlin Basics and Kotlin Developer, and it has some complex concepts like hashing. We don't cover hashing in details in the basics track, but you can still select the project that has it, and you can still learn the theory about it, and you can still even practice that. But the 90% of the rest of the project will be fully matching Kotlin Basics. That's pretty much it about tracks that we have. And now I want to do the live demo. So now you know how the platform works. And I can see you that in the live action. Let's pretend that I want to learn Kotlin. So this is actually the first page. I will select Kotlin Basics. Here we go. The platform will show me some information about the tracks, some statistics, how many topics we have, how many students are already learning that, a little bit more about the projects here, again, a little bit more about the content, and so I can make my decision. Let's say it looks good to me. Here you see it shows me the study plan immediately. That's because I already selected that project before, and the system remembers that. The new students will see a slightly different thing. They will see the slide that I showed you before, the list of the recommended projects with some handy icons. For example, this one is the fastest to complete. Another one is has the best rating. So it gives me handy hints. But I'm going to stick with my initial selection. I like this number-based converter project. Again, we have user reviews here. We have more information about the project when you select on that. You can expand each stage, and it will tell you what are the theory topics covered. By the way, you see everything is green because I already learned that before. Like I told you, the progress is not lost. So I can select this project and continue with that. Another step that was missed here, and unfortunately I cannot show you that because I already passed this step, and again, platform remembers that, but you will see that after you select your very first project on the platform, the system will ask you roughly 1,000 of questions to figure out what's your base knowledge level. Maybe you are not experienced in Kotlin, but you know about programming enough, so you don't have to cover all the basic things like what is the binary number, what are the comments in my code, and things like that. By answering those questions, you will let system know that you have some prior experience, and it will automatically detect and mark some topics as being already known. That's what you see here. That's why it has this white stripes and the icon that literally says detected as known. So the system detected that I already know some stuff, and it will not ask me to keep reading or practicing those basic things. I can still do that if I want. There is a button here, continue. I can get back to any topic I learned before and revisit that. And as you can see, a couple of topics there are not detected as being known. So 1,000 of questions is not enough to figure out everything that I know. So the system will ask me to complete that. And before I complete, it will not let me go further. Let's do this. Let's see the theory. It's about converting decimal to binary. And maybe after reading that, I realized, okay, I actually know this thing. So I don't want to start practicing. I just want to verify that I have the knowledge. There is a special way to do that. I can click on this, verify to skip. The system will ask me just only one question. And if I give it the correct answer, then it will detect this as known. It will ask me like how many bits do I need to store Russian alphabet, which is 33 letters. It's probably 6, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see if I get it right. And in fact, I did. So it will allow me to skip this. It will allow me to proceed further. It still doesn't allow me to start practicing the stage itself. I need to cover that a little bit more. So with this linear structure that we're talking about, the study plan, JetBrains Academy tries to force you to do everything step by step. It tries to reinforce the knowledge first before you start practicing the bigger things. In each topic, you will have like a small practice task, but the big one is at the end. So this is the recommended way of learning, but that's not the only way. And we are not really like forcing you to do so. If you get back to the project definition, you find any stage that you like, but I'm going to start with the first one. And you go straight to the stage implementation. You'll see all the details you need. You'll see the stage description. It looks like a normal task online you find on any other platform. It tells you why is this task important in engineering in general. What is the task? Here it will ask me to type the number and the target base, and it will convert the result. Show me a couple of examples so I don't get this wrong. It also has some hints. Again, this one is expanded because I did that before, and system remembers that. It will not collapse it anymore. So I know that I already seen that hint. But by default, they're hidden. So if you're, again, courageous enough, you don't have to expand all the hints, and you can start practicing right away, right here in the browser. So here we have the Kotlin editor right in the browser. I can write anything I want. I can run it, and I can submit my solution. But that's not the most interesting part. The coolest thing is that we have IDEs. Yes, this is JetBrains. JetBrains is famous for IDEs and tools, and we have IDEs and tools. With a click of a button, I can immediately transfer everything to my IntelliJ IDEA. This works because of the plugin called EduTools from the same platform. You can install it, and it will synchronize your progress. You will have everything you saw on the browser. You'll have the same stage definition on the right, as you can see, in a more concise way, but that's the same content. We can read here. What's nice about IDE, in my opinion, is the best way to learn, because now you, first of all, practicing in the real tool that you're going to use in your real day-to-day work. Second thing, now you have a better syntax highlight. Now you have auto-completion. Now you have all these suggestions from the IDE. And suggestions from the IDE is not simply things like auto-completion here, like what can I do with the thing that I read from the line. IntelliJ IDEA is smart enough. It will tell you to rewrite some of the code. It will offer you more idiomatic solution in some cases. It will detect basic errors, so you don't have to pay attention to that. It will tell you about the errors, or provide you information about those errors, which is pretty nice. Absolutely invaluable feature for the new learners is the embedded documentation at my fingertips. Again, I don't have to Google that. I don't need to go to Stack Overflow, or the official documentation is right here. I can learn, read about any function, any class that I have on the platform, which is also pretty nice. And also we have plugins in IDE. And I'd like to mention just one plugin. It's not even by JetBrains, but in my opinion, this is the very important plugin for the students right now. It wasn't available just a couple of years ago, but now you can use it to learn. So I wrote a function here that I didn't complete yet. And what I'm going to do, I'll write the definition of this function, but without the actual content. I'll use a plugin that's called Copilot that pretty much writes the code for me. It takes samples from GitHub. It learns from other engineers, and it will try to write the code like other engineers would do for the given name and the definition. So here you go. It may look like cheating, right? It just wrote the code for me. But I have to tell you it is not. First of all, as an engineer, as a developer, or as a student, I came up with that function definition. So I already know what I'm doing. I'm just asking the system to assist me, to help me, to give me an example of how this part of code can be written. Also, the cool thing is that it will offer me, and I can pick between multiple solutions if they are available. So this is a nice way to compare. I highly recommend you to take all the solutions that you can find and compare them and see how they're different. Let's say I like this one. And this one is not how I would write this function. I would write it in the way that it uses the loop, for example, and this one uses the recursion. So I've already learned something when I was preparing this presentation. Oh, this is yet another way to write the same function that I already know how to write. And it's not completely cheating either, because as you can see, it actually made a mistake. So this part is even incorrect syntactically. So I'll have to fix it. And with IDE, it's so much easier to fix it. Offers me the right solution right away. So here we go. This is the fix. Now we can see if that works. And this is another beauty of IDE. The running the project, practicing it is much easier in IDE. Everything at your fingertips. You have the command line right here. You don't have to submit the solution to us. So let's try to convert 255 into base 16, for example, and it gives me the answer FF, which is correct one. Let's do the same number, but use the binary format. Again, it gives me the correct number. Once more, the solution that you get from the internet, the same way that you get them from Stack Overflow and not silver bullets, they're not complete solution. You still need to think about the edge cases. You still need to think about the potential errors. So if I do the same thing, but I give it the base 1, which doesn't really make sense, I will end up with getting a lot of errors here, which is true because we didn't even cover the edge cases here. And in IDE, you can even write your own unit tests. You can test your code thoroughly before even submitting that. You don't have to. We have all the tests on the platform. When you click on this check button, it actually submits it to the server. We have all the unit tests, and we'll run this code against those unit tests. So we're going to do that, but I'm going to make a small typo here and submit the wrong solution first, so I can make sure it fails. When you write your own test, that's something that you always want to do. You first make the correct test with the wrong code to make sure your test is working. And the platform will actually teach you how to do that in some of the courses. And I'm doing the same thing here. In IDE, I even see the actual output. So you'll see that on the server, it ran number 232, and it tried to convert that to the base 16. And here is what I printed as the result. And yes, it's wrong because I put this word wrong here. Now I'm going to correct the solution and submit that again. And we'll see if the Academy accepts that. And it does. And after it accepts that, it allows me to jump to the next step straight away. So that's another beauty of IDE. You can keep practicing as long as you want. You can keep working on the project until you're done or until you stumble upon something you don't know. I need to tell you that this is not how we want you to learn. We want you to learn the theory first. We want you to practice on the simple things first a little bit, but who are we to stop you? So if you are so inclined, if you're courageous enough, then you can do it that way. Start with a hard project and keep practicing till the very end. I think I showed you everything about the IDE. So let's get back to our slides. Here we go. You already know how to use the platform as a student. The last thing that I want to cover today is how to use the platform as a teacher. So you may be a teacher, you may be an educator, you may be just giving your coworkers bits of information to help them extend their knowledge. You may be the professional. So for the professionals, there are two main ways to use the platform, the JetBrains Academy. First of all, you can actually take the free courses. You can take all the theory, all the topic that we have there and give it to your students. In fact, I know as a matter of fact, 2 universities in Moscow are already using that. So they're giving topics from JetBrains Academy, free Kotlin course to their students. It is free, so you can do that. Second thing, if you want your students to practice, instead of your self-made home task, you can take one of our projects. We have a lot, and the beauty of it, the platform will test the answers for you, so you don't have to do that, which is also pretty nice. And again, I know that these universities are actually doing this, which is pretty cool. And second thing, if you are the company, if you're the organization and you offer benefits to your employees, like free courses online, why not taking our tracks? There is an organizational subscription. You pretty much pay for all your employees, and you have a nice admin panel where you control everything, how many users you have, what they are learning, are they actually using the platform. So there is, of course, I think for the companies too. From the student, there will be no difference. They will be visit the platform as usually, and they will learn the same way. Nothing different there. I think that's pretty much it in terms of what I can tell you or what I have to say today about the platform. But last and not least, definitely, I want to bring attention to those beautiful people who are behind this platform, who are actually building everything. This huge, giant, enormous graph that is almost impossible to keep in your head is managed by those people. They either manage the parts of it, like Irina, who is doing that for Kotlin, and she's actually also testing everything. So every single task that you may find in the Kotlin track, she probably completed once or twice. Or Daria, who oversees pretty much everything there, or Zoya, who oversees particularly Kotlin tracks here. I don't know how they keep this track in their heads, but they do. I only contribute to writing the articles there. And this is it. If you like the content of the track, or if you like the content of this presentation, give shout outs to Zoya, Dasha, and Irina. If you don't like, blame me. You can blame me online by handle futurist, and I'm open for the questions.
Thanks, Dmitry. I'm sorry, I think I was muted. So yeah, it was a great presentation and we are swarmed with questions. We are also restreaming it on Twitch. So there is a person replying in Twitch and I've been just, I really wanted to listen to your talk, but I was in the chat mostly. So I'll make sure to watch it again. Yeah, we've had quite a few questions. And a comment from your colleagues from Zoe actually, and the team who have noticed that you had admin rights to your account that you were.
Yes, I do. So if you notice some ugly buttons at the bottom, those are the admin buttons. You will not see that ugly interface if you just studying.
Yes, so that's just a little disclaimer. And the folks also asked us to mention about the ISIC ITIC 50% discount for the JetBrains Academy. And I think Ilnur had this link in the chat.
Yeah, this is right. I forgot to mention that. So I showed you the integration with JetBrains IDEA. IDEA has the free tier, the community edition, but some of the IDEs do not. So if you are studying web development, for example, WebStorm may not be a free IDE. So how do you integrate with that? In fact, if you take in any course and if you accomplish any 3 topics within a week, you'll get the free license for all the IDEs by JetBrains for the next month. So it will be more than enough for you to complete 3 more topics or to complete the whole project. And this is actually all IDEs. You can practice with Kotlin and you can try all other IDEs for free, which is pretty nice. I actually did that myself.
Great, thanks. So let's start with the questions from the chat. The first one was about the plans to develop tracks or topics around KMM or Compose multi-platform.
As far as I know, there is a plan, but this is actually better to ask people responsible for the track. So again, get back to Irina and Zoya. They know better. They know even exactly where in the pipeline those topics are. They are in the pipeline. That's all I know, but I'm not sure how close they are to the completion.
Yeah, and Zoe is also watching us, so maybe she'll be able to reply in the chat. We had a question about the links to the free courses, and the person has seen them on JetBrains Academy, but would like to get a direct link. So
yes,
maybe the person...
We can publish that link, but if you just go to the website is actually called hyperscale.org. The first page will tell you how many courses we have, and the free courses will have a special icon on them, and there is even a special tab that says all free courses. There are not many of them, so if you click on that, you will see Kotlin Basics, you'll see Web Developer free courses there, but yes, we will attach the link.
Got it, thanks. Another question that's not related to the JetBrains Academy platform about the big companies using Kotlin for backend and not for the mobile apps. Do you know of any?
Any company? Is the question is like, do I know about the tracks related to web development or the companies using?
It's about the companies. I have the answer here because we have a special landing page about Kotlin for server, and I've sent the link to this page into the chat, and there are companies like AWS, yes, and Atlassian and Adobe and DoorDash and some others who are using Kotlin for backend for various domains, not only for mobile apps.
You're absolutely right. As a consultant, I've been working with multiple companies over the last year, and every one but one used Kotlin to some degree on multiple platforms, including Backend. So most of the companies who used to write in Java or sometimes in Scala, they now at least exploring Kotlin or migrating to Kotlin. That was my experience with the previous team I worked with. We actually migrated some of the Java and Scala stuff to Kotlin, because Kotlin is kind of like the language in between. It's not as complicated or overcomplicated as Scala, and is not as verbose as Java. It's pretty concise yet still understandable. So, well, yeah, many people who used to work with Java are now jumping on this Kotlin wagon. Not everyone commits completely to Kotlin, but it is being used by the large companies. Again, as a matter of fact, I've seen Kotlin code from AWS team. So yes, Amazon uses that. Microsoft uses that. Well, many other big companies use that. So for sure.
Yes, that's right. Thanks. Another question about the online editor and IntelliJ idea that sometimes don't work in unison. The same code can work in the IDE, but when you paste it in the online editor, it doesn't work. So have you experienced this? Do you have any solutions?
Well, I can easily see that. Well, it looks like a bug. Most likely what happens is the surrounding code that you have, either in IDE or in the browser, is making the code that you submitting to not work. In IDE, you can control everything. So if you have additional file with maybe duplicate names and things like that, they will make it not work. In the browser, it may be harder, because if you practice in the project, what you submit is everything. That's your project. But if you're practicing the topics, we have a little task there. Then you have to complete the whole code. So you do not see the whole code. The whole code is surrounding it. It's a test, and you only write one line there. So it can easily, yes, now work. But if you write the same line in the IDE, that doesn't mean it's actually the same code. Try to read the instruction carefully. You see if the task is to write the complete code or the part of it. If you believe that you did everything according to instruction, then use the feedback button. Please let the team know. And yeah, by the way, a good practice, every time you submit the feedback, provide as much information as possible. What did you run in the local? What was the platform? What was the IDE? Maybe even operating system? And what would you like to see as the answer? And what was the answer that you got instead?
Great, thanks. The reply from an insider. Another question about the questions that are asked after you finish a topic, which tend to require knowledge about other topics that aren't covered yet. So that's related to the track, I suppose.
That's related to the track. I personally haven't seen that. Again, if you believe that this knowledge was not there, check in the graph, check if you have skipped that before. If you didn't, let the team know. Usually, all the small tasks that you have after the topic, they directly related to the topic. We even try to not rely that much on the previous topics that we learned before, to kind of focus more on the immediate thing. But sometimes it's not possible. Like an example with collections, you cannot put any basic data type into a collection before you know the basic data types. But we try to kind of like minimize the area of impact or the area of knowledge for the practice things.
Got it. Thanks. There was a question that we discussed in the chat, but I'll just right now want to read it and reply, because maybe that's relevant to someone else. The question was about the accessibility laws in the US, and how there needs to be some documentation that proves that the software is accessible to those with disabilities. And there in the chat, I dropped a link to, for example, IntelliJ IDEA accessibility article, which shows how you can configure the IDE to adjust the fonts and the colors.
Yeah,
now,
I do not fully understand the question. Yeah, if is that about the compliance, or how do we make the IDE accessible? If that's the latter, it's easier. And you're right, there are several ways to make IDE more accessible. There are accessible themes, first of all, more contrast than the regular ones. And there are bigger fonts that you can select. What you saw on the screen today, by the way, it's called the presentation mode in IDEA, and it automatically makes everything bigger. It's good for presentation, but also good if you have the screen that's not big enough, or if you cannot see the small fonts.
Thanks for your comment. Another question about some stats that Kotlin is 30% slower than Java. I don't know where this is coming from, because these are both JVM languages, and we haven't noticed that difference. So for competitive coding, the person asks whether Kotlin is a good investment, or should they learn C++?
It really depends on what kind of competitive coding you are going to do. As a competitive programmer myself, I started back in the days where Kotlin was not available, so I had to learn C++. We also used Pascal and then Java. And of course, switching to JVM-based language was a penalty hit in terms of the memory consumption. And I know, again, as a matter of fact, many organizations offer different limits for different languages. So if you use something like Python or Kotlin or Java, you will probably have a larger memory limit than you will have with C++. It really depends on your organization there. But I also tell you that it is so much easier to write basic stuff with more high-level languages. You don't have to repeat yourself. It was so much easier for me, at least when I was switching from C++ to Java, and it was even easier when I switched from Java to Kotlin in that sense. Most of the things that I've tried, by the way, in IDE, you can even decompile your Kotlin code into Java and see and compare the Java and what Kotlin generates like it is Java. So it's pretty cool, and you can see what the actual output of the compiler there. And every time I compared, there was a decent output, and there was the application that worked exactly the same as I would write in Java. But in some cases, yes, you may find yourself using like too high-level things like boxed integers instead of regular integers. You just need to learn Kotlin in this case. Take the course. There are special collections in Kotlin that use arrays in Java instead of the, for example, array list.
And I can add something about the competitive programming topic, because we have our own Kotlin Heroes contest. And the next round is actually going to be in about 2 weeks. It's on March the 1st. And that's a great way for you to practice competitive programming in Kotlin. And apart from the contest itself, a week before, so on February 22nd, we'll launch a week of the practice tasks that are with open solutions. So you can check out these tasks in Kotlin and see the solutions if you get stuck, and just practice the language features and see for yourself. And as JetBrains is a sponsor for the ICPC, the Programming Olympics, we are supporting Kotlin for competitive programming, and we know that Kotlin is growing in that area. We know of some teams that compete in Kotlin at a very high level in these ICPC events. There are, of course, the majority of the teams, they compete in C++, but for other contests, and even for the ICPC contests, we do have teams who compete in Kotlin. And top programmers, they come to our Kotlin Heroes contest. For example, tourist Gennady Kratkevich is usually participating and winning our contest, but we try to make it fun for everyone. So the first tasks are easier, and you can try the first several tasks of the contests to see for yourself whether it's a good tool for competitive programming. And if you solve at least one of the tasks, you are already in for a draw to win a prize. And right now, this contest is already announced on Codeforces. You can check it out. And I think I have the link to it at hand. And just a second. Yeah, I'll just find the link to the contest and send it into the chat. That's for competitive programming, and we are still getting more questions. So I'll just read the other ones. Let me see. We've covered this. How hard is learning Kotlin compared to learning Java?
If you learn from scratch, is probably going to be the same. I cannot tell you for sure because I learned Java before, so I cannot unlearn it to start learning Kotlin. In my opinion, if you start from beginning, it should be slightly easier when you start with basics, because some of the basic things, especially about collections, Kotlin makes simpler. It hides a bunch of things under the hood. This is the same thing I was referring to when you are already experienced and you try to understand how that works under the hood, and then you try to optimize your app. It makes it maybe a little bit more complicated because you need to know how that works. But for the student, for the beginner, is a good thing, because those things are hidden. You don't think about that. You just have the collection, it just works. So in my opinion, that's a advantage of Kotlin in terms of learning.
Thanks. And another question related to this, simply why Kotlin? Can you name maybe a couple of things why it was for you?
Why Kotlin? I don't know that many languages, but if you compare to, well, C++, it's just so much easier to express myself and get something right without including any third-party libraries. If you compare that to Java, it is simply more concise, so I can, again, express myself faster and write faster. It's the first thing. And the second, Kotlin is one of the modern languages with built-in nullability safety and proper checks that is part of the type system of the languages. There are more new languages coming, or there are even like some old languages that are now including this feature, but in many of them, this is still optional. For example, C# is a lovely language, amazing language, but it is still optional. It will take some time for the language to get to the state of Kotlin in terms of the actual safety checks and in terms of the adoptance of these checks by the library writers, library producers, and many libraries that are still not supporting that. With Kotlin, again, Java libraries are kind of old ones, and they don't offer that benefits of null safety, but everything that is new, everything that's written in Kotlin is like from the beginning is null safe. To me, that's the biggest advantage of the language.
And we also have collected feedback from our users. I personally collected some feedback from the educators who teach Kotlin and why they chose it. The most prominent reason was the language design, the expressiveness, conciseness. These are the features that are mostly appreciated in the language by educators and our users. It's interoperability with Java, so that you don't need to drop if you have some Java background and some Java code in your projects, you don't need to drop it all. Java and Kotlin work perfectly together. It's the language of Android, and right now it's the officially recognized first language for Android development, and Google has all of their educational resources now available for Kotlin, and in some regions they even re-educate those educators whom they trained in Java several years ago. They now re-educate them to Kotlin, and on their website, developer.android.com/teach, I think it is, there you can easily find resources to study and to launch your own course. Now to some questions from the chat. When a person was trying to resolve a problem when practicing on any stage and solution was not correct, the program would suggest to download a test as a TXT file, and there are only numbers inside. Could you explain what they mean? And there was an answer from Zoya that these numbers are for input and output because that's what tests check. I don't know if you have anything to add. We can.
Well, Zoya pretty much covered everything. Each test after each topic where you have to write the code just takes something from the standard input and it checks if your output on the standard output is the same as expected. But again, unfortunately, for some of the simpler things, we don't force you to write the complete read and write to input and output to make it simpler for you. So you sometimes only write one single line. So you may not see the whole code that consumes that input and then produces that output. All you can do is to make sure that you produce something that will correspond to the output that you see in the file.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And there was a question about the Kotlin Developer track availability, and the answer is that it is already available, but it's available only under a premium subscription. And the question about the availability of the Kotlin for Backend track, I don't know. I'm not sure if that was answered in the chat. Do you have any information?
Hopefully it's answered, but as far as I know, it is in progress, but not available now. So unlike the Kotlin Developer, which has most of the content and is still being developed, the backend track is in the earlier stage, so it's not published yet.
The question about some free resources for learning advanced Kotlin DSA.
DSLs?
Yeah, maybe that was misspelled. So can you recommend anything?
Well, I would recommend starting with the official documentation first. As far as I remember, there was a pretty good article there that explains how everything is done. I cannot recall right now, like on top of my head, anything else. I think I stumbled upon a good article, but I don't remember which one was that.
On the Kotlinlang.org or...
The main documentation, yes. The additional information can tell. But yeah, start with the official doc. It actually has a nice example.
And yeah, if you go to our documentation, you will see some paths for beginner learners where we recommend this Kotlin Basics track, and then you'll find our recommended books, our recommended online courses. So just check it out. A question about the certificates. There were quite a few questions about certificates, whether they were available for paying customers or for the free course. So for the Kotlin Basics track, you can enroll into the track for free, but to get a certificate, you need to have the subscription. And so several questions about certificates and about a digital badge to be used in platforms like LinkedIn. I don't know the answer to this one. Do you, Dmitry?
I don't. Actually, I don't use badges. Unfortunately, I can't tell you anything about that, but maybe somebody from the team can answer that in chat.
Yeah, I hope it's answered in the chat. Now, about bulk or side subscription discounts, I think this was answered by Ilnur with some link. Do you have anything to add?
No, actually, not responsible for anything that's related to money or subscription and things like that here.
Then there was a question about Rust track, and the answer that if it comes, it's under discussion right now, and if it comes, it will come not sooner than next year. A question about the topic you are currently working on, the coroutines topic. So you are planning to add this to the course, right? And could you tell us when? Do you have any timeline for that?
Yes, it should be the first half of, or maybe in first quarter of this year. It's half done.
Great. I think we've already answered the question about KMM course or Kotlin frameworks course. Are there any
Frameworks.
plans?
Well, I don't think there is any plan specifically or to develop the track that is fully dedicated to KMM right now. But again, Zoe and Irina know that better.
Okay. There is a question from a software engineer who has already learned the Kotlin Basics track and likes the course, but didn't start any project and was asking whether joining the project was free or paid. So
The projects, yes, are free. If you are taking the free course, you can also take the projects there for free.
and a couple questions from someone looking at the job market to find an entry-level job. And they're asking for a recommendation of what track to start with: a Java beginner course to have basic knowledge of Java syntax and then continue with Kotlin basics, or and go on with Kotlin, or just learning Kotlin is better because of the solid and deeper knowledge in one language.
I would recommend having a solid knowledge in one language, no matter which one is that. Java is also a good language to learn. So look at the market if you have any opportunities right now. For example, if you are targeting Android development, then definitely Kotlin, because now it's a primary language for Android, not even one of the languages is the first one. If you're looking for something else and you know that your future potential employees are using more of a Java, then yes, definitely take the Java course. Good thing about Kotlin, it was built initially on top of JVM, so it was mostly targeted to JVM at the very beginning. So it still has these things in the design. So if you learn Kotlin, then suddenly you realize that your future employee wants you to learn Java, it will be not that hard for you. Most of the concept will be transferable, memory management, collection, basic data types, the application structure, those things will be the same.
Now I'm reading the comments in the chat and I see a person who was here at this webinar for the Kotlin for Backend track information. So I think you've covered that, right?
Well, I just mentioned that it's in development. So yes, it is in development. Unlike other things, it is actively being developed, but it's not public yet, unfortunately.
And do you know what exactly there will be in the course?
Yeah, I think roughly that's going to be similar to what we have on Kotlin Developer. It will kind of build on top of basic things and will deviate into additional kind of library framework side. So things like Spring Framework, maybe other frameworks, Micronaut, Quarkus, things like that you use in the backend developer on Kotlin. So Kotlin base as the foundation, and then particular web framework on top of that.
There was a question about your recommendations for completing the track.
My recommendations, I personally like the project approach. That's why I joined JetBrains Academy in the first place. I like to practice more than I like reading. So find the project, if you're like me, find the project that is a little bit challenging, something that looks like, oh, I do not know how to do that yet, and start with that. So it will give you some nice challenging information as well. You will learn something new along the way, and at the end of it, you will build something that you were not able to build before.
Great. Let's see. You were mentioning some book at the beginning. Could you please repeat its title?
Yes, it's Kotlin in Action book. It is written by Svetlana Isakova and I think Dmitry Sitnikov. And this is the JetBrains team was responsible for Kotlin. So they know a thing or two about Kotlin. And this is one of the first books about Kotlin. It is a really good one to begin with. If you prefer linear learning style and just want to read a lot of theory first before start practicing, or maybe if you prefer like read half of the book and practice a little bit, this is definitely a nice book to read. I read it myself personally, even though I knew Kotlin at that time, but I still enjoyed the book. So try this one.
And I can also add that for beginners, we usually recommend another book by Svetlana Isakova and Bruce Eckel, Atomic Kotlin. This one is designed for beginners, while we sometimes consider that Kotlin in Action is more for those who have already some programming background, Java background. Now, the question, the good one, which motorcycle are you riding now? And which do you plan to buy in the future?
Not the one that you see. This is the model of a different Ducati. I have Ducati, but a slightly smaller one.
Good. And now, why do EduTools not support Stepic anymore? And we've answered that we do not support joining the courses from Stepic, but you can check them in the Browse Courses dialog. But sharing the courses is now only available with JetBrains Marketplace. So then comes the question about the new Kotlin backend track. And apart from your answer, we got an answer in the chat about the plans to cover Ktor and Spring Boot and the plans to release the first version of this track in 2022. Another question, is that true that if you made a lot of mistakes during your work on a project, you'll need to solve optional exercises from the topic?
As far as I remember, again, Zoe knows that better than I do, but as far as I remember, there is an algorithm that offers you more questions. And if you get the first 3 or 4 right straight away, then it will ask you fewer questions. If you do more mistakes at the beginning, then it will, yes, ask you a couple more. That's how it used to work.
Mm-hmm. Do you have plans to have topics or projects on reactive programming with VertX, for example?
Good question, but I actually do not know. I haven't seen that part of the graph. Again, maybe somebody from the team can answer.
A question about the plugin that you were using for the function.
The plugin, yeah. So this plugin is called Copilot. It is available, I believe, in all Java IDEs, and it now supports Kotlin, as you've seen, but also other languages.
Mm-hmm. And now I'll be reading the questions that have come through since we started our Q&A right from the chat. Can we put in our course to JetBrains Academy? And I think Ilnur was answering this one, how to add own course to JetBrains Academy. Now, what is Kotlin multi-platform? Can you explain this in a couple sentences?
Yeah, well, I highly recommend reading the official page about Kotlin multi-platform, but the long story short, Kotlin is not a JVM language anymore. And now you can use the same Kotlin language to compile your application for completely different platforms, even those that do not run JVM natively, like iOS, or you can run it on your desktop application or even in browser now.
Mm-hmm. Peter was asking whether JetBrains Academy course could also work with Android Studio, and Zoya was answering that it's necessary for the Android track. Now let's see. I think we are getting pretty close to reading and answering all of the questions. So I think that's the last chance for those of you who haven't yet asked their questions to add them. Can Coursera Kotlin course be a good recommendation to layer all new features from Kotlin? I'm not sure I understand. Maybe the person is asking for one-stop shop course for learning all the
Yeah,
features.
good question. I mean, there are two things there. Like, is the Coursera course a good one? From what I can see, it is a good one. I didn't take the full course. I just checked the content, and it was pretty close to the Kotlin Action book. So it looks like a good course to me. In terms of the new features, just take a look at the date of the last update of the course and see if it has the features there. Again, if I'm not mistaken, it's a little bit behind. So if you want to learn like newest and shiniest things, then the course will be slightly behind the schedule there.
A question about the Android track, when it will be ready. And Zoya answered that it's already there, but it's under development. Wow.
Yes.
And more content is coming soon. So now I'm confused. Is it there yet already, or
It is there yet. If you visit that, you will see a lot of topics. They come with a beta icon. So that means like those are recently added topics that we are still testing. So we actually like debugging and testing our topics. If people don't like them, if some of the questions after the topics are too hard, we adjust that to make it easier to learn. And then they graduate from beta to release, and also adding new topics. So Android development track is at the very beginning. So far, it only covers the basics of Android development, like not the deep, not the complex concept. We don't have, again, the latest, the most recent changes by Google there yet.
So yeah, I'd say for now, for the Android tracks, developer.android.com/Kotlin is the best place to find your resources for learning, to solve some code labs, to get all of the most up-to-date Android information. A question about hiring Kotlin developers, whether we are hiring. JetBrains is hiring developers, and of course you can find our open positions on jetbrains.com/jobs or careers or whatever that section of the official website would be. And yes, we do our internal projects like Space, for example, our and one of the newest projects that is built with Kotlin. So yes, we are hiring Kotlin developers. And what about your company, Dmitry?
Well, I used to work as a dedicated Android engineer, means like I mostly did Android. And of course, well, pretty much everyone whom we hired for those positions were doing Kotlin. So yes, the company I'm working for is hiring Kotlin engineers right now.
Great. And there are comments that people are looking forward to the backend track. Thanks. And questions about the links to our different resources. Let's see. Now, I think we've covered everything now. I think we don't have any questions. And while we are wrapping up, maybe that's the last chance for someone who has been silent to speak, to write their question. And I asked at the beginning to share where our audience was coming from, and I saw that people were coming from all over the world, and it's great to have you all here and to have received so many questions. That's just wonderful, and that's the purpose of us doing this, so that we can connect with you and just answer your questions. And you are also very welcome to write your questions under this video. We'll answer them as well. after the webinar. And of course, I want to thank Dmitry for this great, enlightening, insightful presentation about the tracks and the tools. It was great having you today with us, and we really appreciate you sharing this information. I'd like to thank our viewers for spending more than an hour of your time with us. If you want to learn more about Kotlin, please go to kotlinlang.org/education. This page is for educators, and there are some resources for learners and educators. And for the Kotlin prospective teachers or instructors who already teach Kotlin, we have a special Kotlin Lang Slack education channel on our huge Kotlin Lang Slack workspace. There are over 45,000 people in that workspace, and that's also a great way to communicate with peers from the Kotlin community. And if you are interested in other topics around teaching Kotlin, please feel free to check out the educational playlist on this YouTube channel. And of course, you are very welcome to subscribe to get videos about Kotlin topics. We're having a series of Kotlin webinars about Kotlin for Backend. And yeah, I think that's my pitch. And of course, check out the description to this video with the links to the track, the free Kotlin Basics track that we recommend, and Kotlin team participated in building this track too. And once again, sincere thanks to all of you and Dmitry.
Thanks everyone, and thanks for having me. And once more, thanks Zoerin and Dasha for contributing to this presentation.
Great, thank you. Bye.